Hello and welcome to another edition of the OCVarsity Gridiron Show, Week 6. We're getting into league now, boys. It's serious. It's go time. I'm here with Steve Fryer and also Dan Albano. I'm Jonathan Khamis, and let's get right to it, our game of the week. And it is in the South Coast League. What an opener we have as 6-0 Tesoro is on the road to take on 5-1 San Clemente. And the Tritons are going to host a homecoming parade earlier that day, and they're going to host this homecoming game 7:30 p.m. on Fox. Commercials, going to be a long night, everybody. Okay, last year San Clemente beat Tesoro 24-14. Steve, might be a little bit more evenly matched this year considering how good Tesoro is. I mean, come on now, they're undefeated. What kind of problems will they present the Tritons?
Tesoro is really good. You know, Coach Matt Poston's been out with the heart situation, and wishing him well. But I really like the San Clemente team. I saw them lose to Corona Del Mar, but they got some skillful guys on the offensive side, and their quarterback Billups is really good. Also a very good cornerback. Preston Rex a really good two-way guy too. You know, I think this is a toss-up game, and I don't know who Dan Albano is going to pick over there, but I think I've got to go with the Tritons in this game.
Okay, and the Tritons lost to CDM, as you said, but Tesoro, they beat Poway 44-3. Dan, which team you got? I think you're thinking about this one. Who's it going to be?
This is a great game to pick, and it's a great game of the week. I'm going with the Titans because I think, as Fryer has just mentioned, San Clemente's got some skill. But one of the flags I think that went up for me in looking at that score last week, you know, Corona Del Mar and San Clemente was, where was the Tritons defense that we had talked about just very last week? Those 9 interceptions. I know Corona Del Mar has got a high-powered offense. Yes, you got to take that into fact, but so did Tesoro. And I think, Lindgren, Schaefer, all those guys coming down there to San Clemente, I think the Titans are going to get that win and go to 7-0.
Okay, there we go. I love it when you guys just differ on games. It makes it fun.
I'm trailing Fryer in the by a couple games in the weekly picks contest, so it only helps me a little bit to pick against him as much as I can to try to catch up, because that's the only way I can catch up.
There we go.
And I hope you pick against me in this game. Go, John.
Let's go, Trinity League. All right, Servite 4-1. They will be playing St. John Bosco. Last year, Bosco throttled Servite in the last game of the season, 56-0. This year looks like a different story because the Friars are winning some big games, just like last week when they defeated Notre Dame of Sherman Oaks 16-13. The defense for the Friars was outstanding, holding Notre Dame scoreless in the second half. Steve, the Friars look like they're the real deal.
Yeah, they're getting better week by week. I talked to Coach Thomas, Troy Thomas, a little while ago, and he's seeing, even like in the course of a game, he's seeing his guys getting better, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Troy's a defensive guy, but even during the course of that Notre Dame of Sherman Oaks win, you know, he sees guys that are having like the light comes on moments about how to do this thing, and not trying to overplay too much. Trust your fellas to do their job, and you just do yours. But you know, St. John Bosco, I mean, my golly, you know, number 2 team in the nation, all over the place behind this other Trinity League team, Modern Day, that we're trying to cover properly. And you know, I think Bosco is going to win this game. But for me, it's going to be very interesting to see the progression that Servite makes. You know, how far along have they come? Bosco's going to win it. But I know that Dan, no guts, no glory. Dan, who you picking?
Yeah, I'm definitely picking the Braves. I mean, why not? But it's that's interesting. You know, how do you judge the progress of Servite in this game? Last year when these teams played, I think it was the last game of the season for the Friars, and Bosco won 56-0. There's been some pretty lopsided scores in this rivalry the last couple years. So I think I think the biggest challenge is for Servite is going to be on defense when they're dealing with DJ at quarterback, the speed they have at wide receiver, the speed they have at running back at Bosco. So let's see how the Servite defense holds up, because I think they've already shown, and I think another way they can get progress, Noah Fafita, Zedekiah Centers, T-Mac McMillan, they have shown that they got they have big play capability. So I'm expecting Servite not to get shut out and to get a touchdown or two and maybe catch Bosco in a big play or two. So that would be progress, and a decently a good relatively good defensive effort. And for the Friars too, I mean, it is tough right now. Did you guys see who's ranked number 8 in Division I right now? If the playoffs started right now, Division I, Servite would be in. They'd be in the Elite 8. They're number 8, but they play Bosco this week. Then they play Mater Dei. Servite just got to have some composure, and get through these couple games healthy with a little bit of confidence. And then, I think they're Division II contenders, fellas, for sure.
Yeah. Right on.
Good advice, Coach. All right, here we go. Our last game that we will preview, guys, is 2-3 Villa Park. They will be at Foothill. This game is Thursday night. Do we know where?
Tustin High School.
Tustin High School, of
Norfolk
course.
Field.
There we go. Foothill always plays there. Now, last year, Villa Park throttled Foothill, set 57-0. Last week, though, Villa Park beat El Toro 28-14. Steve, what did you think of that score? Did you think Villa Park would put up more points than that? Was that a good indication of where Villa Park is at after, getting beat by a number of Trinity League schools? And how do you like this matchup?
Dan, who are the two most sort of puzzling teams this year? To me, are Villa Park and Los Al. Not quite as good as I thought they'd be, but also you got to take a look at the schedules both these teams have played. And certainly if you look at the losses of Villa Park, it's Mater Dei, Mission Viejo, Servite. That's a pretty nice run of teams right there. I talked to Coach Anchich a while ago, and he said that, their biggest opponent of Villa Park is themselves. First of all, they have some issues with practice field, home field, and stuff like that. That's going to be detrimental too. But the situation with them is that they just are not playing as well mentally, emotionally as coaches hoped. And here comes Foothill. The best team they've had in quite some time. Those really good lower level guys are finally on varsity, so they're rolling pretty good. It's going to be very interesting to see what Villa Park does with this game. I'm picking Villa Park to win it, but I really want to see if they really go on the attack pretty good, and if they handle Foothill in the manner that one might expect, and that would be, win by a couple touchdowns here and there. But Foothill's on a roll, and if they're, it's like 14-14, after the end of the first quarter, man, who knows what's going to happen in this game?
Yeah, Foothill, I think, has a big chance to make a big statement Thursday night at home. They're coming off a good win against Canyon, 42-3. Their defense was outstanding. Dan, they forced 5 turnovers, so they're going to be on that side of the ball. Does Foothill create an upset here, Dan?
I won't be surprised. I mean, they already shocked me once when they beat Yorba Linda.
Yeah.
I was stunned by that score, and I'm going to be covering this game. And I'm excited to see Foothill because, puzzling, like Fryer was saying, who's been the most puzzling team in a good way. Foothill's been one of the surprise teams for me in all of Orange County this year. I did not expect them to be that way. I know Coach Case liked his team at the beginning of the year. They have a lot of returners from their, North Hills League champion, but they have definitely taken up a notch. I have Foothill ranked above Los Al, and I know, Los Al's 1-4. And I looked at that a lot, and I think that says a lot of where Foothill is. I think they're like 15, 16 in the county. I did not see that at the beginning of the year. I still think Villa Park's going to win this game. There's a reason they play Mater Dei, Mission Viejo, and Servite because it's going to pay off in these types of games when they get into that Century Conference. This is where they start to cash those checks for those tough games that are tough for high school kids to deal with, but they're going to start to see the big picture. But I still think they're still trying to get back on track. Cause I agree with you, Jonathan. That 28-14 victory, wasn't that impressive for me for Villa Park over El Toro. Cause you're going to see some El Toro scores. I think they're going to have a tough go of it in the South Coast League. And I consider like Villa Park, they should be on the level of a San Clemente Tesoro. Perhaps, and that score is probably not going to compare well to those teams, but it's going to be an interesting game out there.
Yeah, sometimes teams, maybe they play down to their opponent. Maybe they're looking ahead in the schedule, so you never know. These are high school kids. Sometimes you never know what you're going to get week to week, except for the elite teams, and that's why they're elite. All right, thanks to Steve Fryer. Thanks to Dan Albano. We'll be all over the games this weekend. We'll see you then.